Hey, what's going on, guys? Fellow cartoonists, welcome to another cartooning courses. I'm Nate Fakes, and thanks for joining me today. Yeah, it's just another awesome day of hanging out, talking cartooning, and today what I wanted to do was go into, what's better, doing original art, like on paper, with the old-fashioned pen. I shouldn't call it old-fashioned, it's not. With a pen, a pencil, inking, marker, whatever you use. Or digital, like what are the pros and cons of both? What do I use? Like what do I think about each one? I'll start off by saying like any way you do it is totally cool. Like whatever you think is best, whatever you're comfortable with using, I'd say go for it. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. I know, this day and age, you hear everything's going, tech, digital, but hey, old school is just as awesome, and there's a lot of benefits to both, really. As I say that, it does depend a little bit on, like I do cartooning for Red Bull, and with that, I have to go digital with that. There's a lot of editing and a lot of things. So if you're going for like studio work, in-house type of thing, sometimes you do have to switch it up to digital. But in general, like general cartooning, like whatever you're trying to do with your own work, your own series and everything, I'd say whatever floats your boat. But I'm going to go over some pros and cons of each. A lot of you know that I started off for over a decade, most of my life, doing traditional pen and ink, paper cartoons. In fact, I switched to pretty much mostly digital about 2 years ago. Year and a half, 2 years ago. But that being said, I still to this day, I do things on paper sometimes too. So I wrote it down because I forget things sometimes. Thankfully with coffee, it helps me remember more than usual. But I do sometimes forget points. So I did write down some points that I pretty much know by heart, but in case I forget anything again. So some pros and cons of both. I had to get that last sip in. So I'm going to go over them right now. So let's start with original art. Original art, I think the biggest pro of it is, hey, you get original art. It's really kind of awesome to have your own cartoons and, drawings, to have an actual physical piece of paper, whatever it may be, to hang up, to frame, to give to your kids, to auction off, whatever you want to do with it. It's kind of nice to have. This is showed up here. This is one of the, my syndicated series, Break of Day. This is a cartoon from that. That, as you can see the date on it, 5/13/2016. So it's been a few years. But the way I would do it, I use bristle board, and I would create the square around it. Just with that, I would actually use a marker, just a permanent marker, nothing fancy. And then I would go over it with pencil. And this would all be done on a drawing board, by the way, which gets me to another point about traditional art. With traditional art, you have to kind of have a studio space. You kind of have to have a platform to perform on, put it that way. So that could be a desk, a drawing table. I always used a traditional, mostly you think of them, for architects, but a drawing table that I could use a T-square on. And speaking of T-square, here it is. This is what I use for getting the straight lines and everything. This and a ruler worked out great. Still works out great. Like I said, I still do some drawing this way. But so this is kind of a clunk. Let's be real. It's a clunky instrument to use, kind of. It's just big, it's bulky, and it is what it is. But hey, it did the job, and I love the feeling of drawing on paper. I still love it. I like having the paper to hold in my hand. And here's another example. These are all kind of the same because they're all from my syndicated series. But again, I just I go over it with pencil, then I ink it with India ink. It's called. It's a very permanent ink, and that gets me to another point about drawing traditionally. It could be messy. It could be very messy. I've had a lot of accidents on carpet. I've had them on, many pieces of furniture. Sometimes you'll pick up a cartoon that you just finished and you think it's dry and it's not. So then you get the smears. So with original art too, one thing to keep in mind is, yes, it's messy. And also, if you make a mistake, it's a little bit difficult to clean up, especially with India ink. I use the old school whiteout sometimes, but also with traditional art too, though it's traditional, to get it, published or to put it, online, you have to scan these in. So I have a big scanner actually that I'll take it from this point, and here's another one featuring an extremely awful pun. But hey, you know what? If I didn't do the awful puns, who would? Who would? Okay, a lot of people. But anyway, this is one of mine. So yeah, I take these, I scan them in, and from there I color them and resize them and everything. So you can actually edit these days. You don't need whiteout to fix mistakes. You can edit them online. But a lot of times I'll take traditional art and edit it with whiteout because, again, you have the original art. So if I ever wanted to hang this up in a gallery, or I don't know if they'd accept awful puns like this in a gallery, but I can. And so whiteout, it'll make it clear and better. So those are my main points that really come to mind. Now back to my list before I forget things. Oh, something else. When you do traditional art, you need supplies. So, that's, again, it's one of those things where you're going to need that with digital art too. But with traditional art, you run out of paper, you run out of ink. Your pen nibs oftentimes will break. You have to keep, not only break, you got to refresh them. You got to keep new pen nibs constantly because a lot can go wrong with them. Sometimes you get a bad batch of pen nibs too. I've had that happen where it's just like they don't work. You dip it in the ink and it's craziness. This doesn't work out too well. Those are like the few pros and cons of traditional art. I think the biggest takeaway for me, at least, what I love most about it is, again, the original art. I love having original art just to have, to pass down, to give as gifts. You know the drill. There's a lot you can do with it. I'd say the biggest con is supplies, place to work. You have to have a studio space, and the messes too can be pretty bad. Those are really it. And again, this is all my perspective, so you may have a totally different outlook. One thing I will say too about traditional art, which I think is actually kind of cool, like the mistakes you can make on them are actually kind of fun to look at, and to, if you can get away with it, if they're not too horrible, to actually print it that way. And you can look back at them and you'll know that was an accident. And I like that too, looking at like original cartoon art from other cartoonists. It's kind of fun to see their mistakes and like where they adjusted things or messed up. So that's just like me personally, that's a cool little element of traditional art also. So let's hop into digital art. Now, again, like everyone thinks, everything's tech savvy and we got to go digital now. Well, again, you really don't. The only time I feel like you do is if you're in a profession where like you're working in-house at a studio like Warner Brothers, Disney, someplace where you have to do digital work because there's so much editing. It's just too time consuming to do it by hand. I know I'm in that situation when I do cartooning for Red Bull. There's so many edits and so many we got to go back and forth numerous times. If I did all this by hand, I'd be at work, way too much. So other than that though, like again, digital, it has its pros and cons. I've gone to digital now again, about 2 years ago. I'm pretty much all digital. And what I like the most about it is just the fact that you can do so much. You're not limited to just pen and ink. And you're not traditionally either if you have your other supplies on hand. But with digital, like everything's just with a click of a button. You have your paint brushes, you have your coloring, you have your ink. So instead of like taking original art, scanning it in, uploading the file, then transferring it to Photoshop, everything's kind of in one place with digital. I just do it all. And that makes time-wise much better. Again, going back, the time thing, I can get more done with digital. I can crank things out quicker. I can do the whole process faster. And I feel like the art doesn't suffer. If anything, it makes it a lot better because I can go in and make those little corrections, adjustments. The coloring is definitely definitely better for me digitally. I can color by hand too. I've actually took like painting and all that in college, which I feel is important to know, because you can't really digital paint that well unless you know how colors work. And I won't get into that too much. But anyways, I think the coloring is definitely better. And it's so easy and quick to go in and change things. But looking at my list here, some things I've mentioned already, but also like, the supply thing, like I mentioned with traditional art, you don't need to keep buying supplies in some ways, technically. You do need to buy the original supplies. Like I use an iPad Pro. I have a MacBook to upload things to and to edit. So those are my supplies, but I don't have to keep buying them. They don't run out, you know what I mean? Granted, they do get outdated, like we all know with our cell phones and everything else. Technology can become obsolete after a while, so you have to upgrade sometimes to new equipment. But other than that, yeah, I mean, you can't run out of paper, you can't run out of colors and brushes or anything. But you do have your supplies that you use for digital art. Something else, there's no scanning, which I think I mentioned that, but if not, yeah, I don't need to scan or anything. Again, it goes back to that all in one place thing. So, at the end of the day, it all depends on what you're doing, where you want to go, where you feel most comfortable. I know a lot of cartoonists that just love so much the traditional way of going about it. They're not going to switch to totally digital. Some people have a nice mix of it, like I kind of did for the long time. With these, I'll grab all three examples just so you can see them again. But with these, I consider them a mix, because I would pencil and then ink, on the paper, and then scan them in and did all my coloring digitally. So it's kind of a mix of both. And then I add the captions too. You can see like the captions on these are just, well, one of them's done in marker, then the other one's done in pencil. But yeah, I'd go in and type them in, eventually. So that's really kind of it, guys. I just I want to make this video because I think the takeaway on this, I want you to know again, is like whatever you feel comfortable with doing, do it. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think they both have their pros and cons. Again, I think if you're going into the industry, like to work in-house at a place, you're probably going to want to know digital more than traditional these days. So I think any in-house cartoon studio or agency is going to want you to know digital work and how to upload, work that way. So I will say that. So if you're going in that direction, I would definitely, you got to learn the digital thing. It's just everything's going that way. But still, traditional is just as alive and well these days too. You may not even realize it. You'll see a lot of advertisements and cartoons even on TV, any place. People are still using traditional art as well. It's still going, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think, I think again, there's pros and cons to everything. Especially like think of like painting and artwork. That's not going to go anywhere. Everyone's always going to want to paint and draw and traditionally, and just to hang up if anything else. So it's all good, but gives you a few perspectives on both, and again the pros and the cons and what have you. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'd love to hear like what you're using. What kind of medium do you prefer, and what are you going with? Just leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I was going to mention too some exciting news coming on the horizon. There is a new course coming. It's brewing right now. It's brewing, where I'm going to go over. It's going to be an all-in-one package of creating comics and then distributing them, selling them, making a profit off your cartooning. Like a huge course. I'm talking kind of like nothing too overwhelming, but just a really nice chunk of a course coming soon. It's being put together now. I'm really excited about it. But this is kind of the first mention of it. It's still down. It's going to be down the line a ways. It's coming. It's coming. It's a ways away, but I want to mention that now. And again, I mention this every video. If you haven't taken my free 3-part cartooning course, definitely sign up for that. I go over some of these pointers there too. Anyways, enjoy your coffee if you're having any. If not, that's totally cool. Enjoy whatever it is. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.